Welcome in to the Blitz podcast, filling in for technically Tyler North because this is a Friday episode. My name is Jaden Kozak, and with me filling in for technically me and Mitchell, we have Lake Malkus, a friend of the podcast, has been on here a couple times before, big Cardinals fan, and they have a big matchup this week, so I figured we'd bring him on in a pinch. Lake, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Friday night, just chilling. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Back in the hosting chair for the first time in a little bit, so I'm a little nervous. I had to recite. Yeah. We had to go through some problems because your $2,000 laptop doesn't have a webcam. But other than that, and getting all these screens and stuff ready. Other than that, though, I think we're doing pretty good. We're looking at like 10:45 on a Friday night. Probably going to come out Saturday morning. So.
Yeah, about 8:45 my time. So
I mean, this doesn't even really affect you. This late night stuff. This is
early Friday night.
This is pretty much mid afternoon for you. All right, so we're gonna hop into the first game. We're gonna be recapping Thursday night football, which when you're coming into the season, you see Bucs Ravens Thursday night football. You're like, man, this is probably gonna be a 6-2, awesome. A 6-2 Bucs team, and a Ravens team that didn't blow 3 10-plus point leads, and no, it's not that, because the Ravens did blow 3 10-plus point leads so far this season, and the Bucs now sitting at 3-5 after a 27-22 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't even know how to start this. There's just so many problems going on in Tampa right now. Obviously, we see the big news this morning of Tom Brady and Giselle finalizing their divorce. I wasn't 100% sure that was going to happen, but it has obviously happened. And obviously for a guy like him at this age, I mean, clearly he still has it athletically, but a lot of what he does is mentally. And when you're going through a divorce like that with the mother of your kids, I mean, that affects you mentally, and it seems to have affected them last night. I'm just going to swing it to you. Initial thoughts on what happened last night.
I mean, aside from that first drive and one drive in the second half, that Bucs offense just looked completely lost. There was just nothing there. They cannot run the football whatsoever. Leonard Fournette, as a Leonard Fournette owner myself, I mean, 2.5 yards a carry is what he's averaging on the season. It is pitiful. I just don't get it. They are completely lost. The defense was missing assignments just the whole time. They just do not look like themselves. And I think it's just a big mental factor in there.
I mean, you hope that's it, because this team, me and Tyler talked about it throughout we did an Engage 8 episode of the Packers and Bucs and who's got more concern moving forward. The Packers, they need something. The Rams, they need linemen. The Bucs have it all. I mean, you could add an offensive lineman or something like that in there to help them, but they have everything they need. This is probably still one of the best rosters in the NFL on paper, despite the fact that they are now 3-5. But I can't figure. I know I keep doing this, but I can't figure out what's going on here, because there's teams with a lot more problems than the Bucs do, and here the Bucs are sitting at 3-5. And for example, right now, obviously this is a good division to be in if you're having some early season struggles or mid-season struggles, because the Panthers and the Falcons play this Sunday, and one of them is going to be in first place in the NFC South. And the Panthers are 2 weeks removed from firing their head coach and trading their best player away. So, I can't seem to fathom this from the Bucs side. So we're going to move to the Baltimore side. Obviously, they get the win here. This was a much-needed win after you've kind of been going win-loss, win-loss, win-loss all year with the blown leads. And for a little bit, it felt like they were going to do it again. The Bucs take a little bit longer to score than you would have hoped them. You would have wanted them to if you wanted them to win this game, and obviously they just end up running out of time here. They have a couple key injuries. All of Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Gus Edwards, essentially their three best players on offense, or as far as three best weapons right now. They come into this game questionable, and none of them finished the game. Gus Edwards did look great when he was playing. I believe he finished with 65 yards and 73 yards after contact, just because he got contacted behind the line so many times that he was, he has more yards after contact than actual yards from scrimmage, which I thought was a fun little stat. I know that this was a win, and it was a much-needed win, but there is concern coming out of this game, especially if Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman are going to miss time. This is already a team devoid of offensive weapons, and now you're losing your biggest one of all, Mark Andrews. I know Bateman's been in and out of the lineup so far this season, but what do you got as far as Ravens go for the rest of the season after this game?
Well, obviously Mark Andrews is a huge part of that. I read some reports that his shoulder injury was not serious, and they have that long rest after this, so hopefully he can be back in the lineup without missing any time. But obviously, if they lose him, who's your number one receiver at that point? Like, without Bateman? I mean, Prochet, Duvernay? I mean, come on. You're not going to win football games like that, especially passing 30 times in the first half, which is not what the Ravens do. But, second half, they got back to the run game, their bread and butter, and, they looked a lot better. But, yeah. Yeah,
and to answer that question of who's that number one receiver going to be if Mark Andrews goes down, it looked like Isaiah Likely last night. I mean, he looked fantastic. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he did finish with an 87.4 PFF grade, which is by far his highest of the season so far. He looks really good. I'm not ready to say that he's better than a Pat Freiermuth, within his own division. But this was a guy that a lot of Ravens fans were talking about during the preseason. Every year it seems like they have that one guy that they're like, oh man, this guy's going to be an all-pro and all this. And conveniently, it happens to be by who, as far as positionally comparative, Mark Andrews is probably the best player on their team. So Isaiah Likely probably not going to get that opportunity, but he did get the stats: 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown in Mark Andrews' absence. And I mean, obviously, he was looking at him a lot. With Andrews out, you can just see that whoever's going to play that tight end position is going to get a lot of targets in that offense. It's just, I don't know how sustainable it is. It kind of feels like last year where the Ravens just keep having guys drop off, and this guy's now done, and now this guy's done, and it's just how long can you continue to win with these guys just dropping off like this? Obviously, these aren't season-ending injuries, but There is hope, a lot more hope than there was this time last year in Baltimore. That's pretty much all I got here. I thought that I'd have a lot more to take away from this game than I did. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Bucs are in trouble, and the Ravens are pretty much what we thought they were. They were still able to run the ball effectively. Fantasy takeaways, Mark Andrews has given you 6 points over the last 2 weeks due to injuries and various other things. And honestly, Leonard Fournette, you are a Leonard Fournette owner.
I am a Leonard Fournette owner.
If you are a PPR Leonard Fournette owner, you're okay. You'll get by because the way that they're running the ball right now is screens. That's what they've been doing all year pretty much, and that's why he's fine. If you're still playing standard scoring for some reason, you might want to find a quick way to get rid of Leonard Fournette. But rest of season, I can't see him being a top 8, top 10 guy just because you, as a running back, you do need a certain amount of rushing volume, and they're just not getting it. And that's part of the reason why Tampa is failing to move the ball offensively is because you can't pass all the time and expect to win games. I know that passing is, analytically the most efficient play to do, but you still have to have a presence of a run game, and right now they just don't.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Leonard Fournette, standard fantasy leagues, get rid of him. Honestly, sell him for as much as you can, whatever you can scrap him for right now. PPR, he's got to have at least 5 catches and a touchdown to do good because he's only going to get you 40 rushing yards off of 20 attempts, it feels like. I mean, he's just not efficient on the ground. They cannot run the ball at all. But yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating, honestly.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next game, and this is going to be an early game that most of you aren't going to watch because it's entirely too early to be waking up for Broncos-Jags. This game's going to be 9:30 on the East Coast in London. Make sure to set your fantasy lineups Saturday night because you don't want to have, some shitter sitting in your lineup that you don't want. But we have Russell Wilson who continues to amaze people with the way that he just continues to make people cringe, and
he is such a goofball, man.
It's unfathomable at this point the fact that it came out and I was like, there's no way that that's true. And then he goes on to confirm it in a press conference. And KJ Hamler quote tweets the person that reported it initially and said, no BS. This guy spent 4 hours doing like soft warm-ups in the aisle of the fucking airplane.
He
spent 3 hours studying and 1 hour sleeping. I hate this like whole narrative like that, oh, I don't need to do sleep. I'd rather just work. You need sleep as a professional athlete. Like that's, I know that like all the people are like, oh, I don't need to sleep. You actually like, you need sleep as a professional. Like that's something that's real. Like
blood,
it's scientifically proven that sleep helps you perform better, whether it be as an office worker or as an NFL quarterback. Like that's a real thing. You can't run off of energy drinks in the NFL or Wolverine blood. Like that's just, you can't. But anyway, what are you looking forward to in Jags Broncos?
Honestly, after the James Robinson trade to the Jets, honestly, I'm looking forward to ETN finally taking over this backfield. I like James Robinson and all, but ETN is clearly the more talented back there. I'm really looking forward to watching him, perform. And I'm an ETN owner myself in fantasy, so I'm huge on this, honestly. Like this is big. Yeah. That's my best aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting for, especially ETN owners that have been slaving away and waiting for this James Robinson thing to be over. The thing that I'm most looking forward to is this Broncos pass rush against Trevor Lawrence and how he handles that. He's been having a little bit of a rough go of it. They've been getting close here recently over the last couple of weeks. They lose to the Giants by a yard last week. But this Broncos pass rush has been fantastic all year. I know Baron Browning is going to miss some time, which does suck for them because he's actually been it's quietly been one of the best pass rushers in the league right now. Denver Broncos pass rush is 7th via PFF, but their defense is number 1. Obviously, you got Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, guys like that on the back end. And I just want to see how Trevor Lawrence handles that because there have been some problems with he's got this weird thing how he's not really a leader, and now their backs up against the wall. They're what 2-4, 2-5 now. In a year where you go out and you spend $100 million, in salary cap space, and you put all this into the roster, and you would expect more record wise out of this team now, and that's on his shoulders, honestly. So I'm really excited to see how that works out, and then also. When is something going to give? I've been saying it for the last 3 to 4 weeks about the Broncos offense. This is something has to give. Look, Russell Wilson is not fantastic, and we've very well seen that so far this year, but he's not very far away removed from being one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Something has to give with this offense, with this coaching staff, with Russell Wilson, to the point where they can go out and put up more than 20 points. They've scored 20 points or more one time this season, and it was when their opponent scored 30 points, and it was the only time their opponent has scored more than 25 this year. So the defense is doing their job. It's just the offense just can't seem to get anything going. And then obviously also Jerry Jeudy being put in trade conversations right now. Obviously Baltimore, as with every wide receiver in NFL history, is being put into the conversation for Jerry Jeudy because him and Lamar Jackson were good friends. They work out together. He was supposedly like their second choice with Hollywood. Obviously, they're in 2 different draft classes. He was like, either get me Hollywood this year or Jerry Jeudy next year. So that could be a thing. Who knows? And then also, again, same thing. The Packers are going to be in the player for receiver market. I don't see why that makes any sense for Denver just because you've got Russell Wilson for the next 5 years now. Why would you trade away a guy that's going to be here for at least the next 2 to 3 of those years in Jerry Jeudy? Because, a relatively good player. Line on this is Jags -2. I did not think I'd be saying that at this point in the season. And obviously there is no real home field advantage here because this is in London. So I can't imagine the Denver players got too much sleep on the plane because of Russell Wilson stomping around the aisles. So maybe that has a little effect. Maybe that's why Jacksonville's favored by 2. Maybe this is a even spread if Russell Wilson just takes a nap like everybody else. But what do you got on this game spread and just money line regular picks?
I do not think the Jaguars cover. I honestly think the Broncos win this. I know, at some point Russell Wilson's got to stop being this disappointing goofball of a character, and he's got to get back to what he's good at. And Will it be this week? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm really hoping it does because I like Russ as a player, and it's just kind of sad to see like everything pile up on him. But he's got to stop. He's got to do good at some point. So yeah, give me Broncos on this one, as much as a Trevor Lawrence fan as I am.
Yeah, this is a weird game. Like I said, I didn't expect to be seeing Jags -2, but something's got to give in Denver. Jacksonville's defense has not been very good. I know Devin Lloyd's been having a fantastic year. If it wasn't for Sauce Gardner, arguably being the best corner in the league right now, he would have a real conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I think I'm going to be taking Denver on both here. Like I've said 100 times, something has to give. And like I've said for the last 8 podcasts, this is a get-right game for Denver if there was one. The last 6 have been. And I'm going to say it until they win a goddamn football game. They need this win. Point. They have to do it eventually, or at least I hope they do. So I'm going to be taking Denver.
They eventually have to win a football game.
Yeah, at some point something's got to give. Something's got to give. All right, moving on to our next game here, and this is the battle for the NFC South crown. And no, we're not watching Bucs Saints this week. This is Panthers Falcons. Yep.
Ooh, man. It's just
the 2-5 Panthers and the 3-4 Falcons. Whoever wins this game on Sunday will have sole possession of the lead of the first place in the NFC South, with the Falcons obviously being the only team at or above 500 at 4-4 if they win, and then the Panthers will be 3-5, but will have the tiebreaker over Atlanta, who will they will have just beaten on Sunday, and Tampa, who they beat last week. How are the Panthers in a position to take the lead in their division 2 weeks after firing their head coach, or I guess 2 weeks after firing their head coach, and 2 weeks after trading away their best player, which was the sole driving force of their offense and was undoubtedly the worst team in the league for the last 2 weeks until they stringed together this win against Tampa. PFF grade of 94 for PJ Walker last week after completing one pass past the line of scrimmage the week before. I don't think you'll ever see 2 completely different scenarios like that ever again. Baker Mayfield, I think, is leaning towards getting healthy. I don't know if he's officially active this week or not, but I know PJ Walker's getting the start. And on the Atlanta side, we argue about this team every week. I still don't see it. Mariota's throwing the ball 15 times a game, and they're somehow staying close. But in this one, my big thing to watch out for is DJ Moore breakout game. I'm calling it. You talk about calling your shot. A guy like DJ Moore, who's been a disappointment for 6 of 7 games this year so far. Look, the Falcons don't have either one of the starting corners. A.J. Terrell and Casey Hayward both going to be out for this game. This was a weak secondary outside of those guys anyway. It's not very deep. Safeties aren't very good. There is absolutely no pass rush that's going to be affecting P.J. Walker. So, I'll hand it over to you for your thing to watch out for here, but I already know my pick for this one.
Yeah, just the thought of Panthers-Falcons for the division. It's crazy to begin with. But I did see a report, I believe it was from Schefter, that Baker Mayfield is, I think, off the injury report for this game. It's just P.J. Walker's starting. I'm not sure how true that is, but I just want to see how PJ Walker runs this offense, honestly. As a DJ Moore owner or in fantasy, I'm hoping for that breakout game, honestly. And, hopefully PJ Walker can be the catalyst for that, as weird as that is to say. But, I'm excited, I guess, to see how PJ Walker runs this offense as opposed to Baker Mayfield. And honestly, the Panthers really shouldn't even be trying to win this game. So in reality, they should be in the Wembanyama sweepstakes right now, just tanking for the number 1 pick. But you got to go out there and you got to try your best. So I guess they're going to fight for this division crown.
I have no, and the problem is you have an interim head coach that was once a head coach, has head coaching pedigree that, obviously, he's going to want this job. And the way you get that job is by winning games. Honestly, I don't think that's going to be enough. I mean, you see a guy like Rich Bisaccia who comes in last year for Vegas, fixes that entire situation, which is, I mean, as a head coach walking into that, that's about as bad of a situation as you can find. You know, you've still got talent on the roster, but just like the off the field stuff is absolutely insane. And you come in and you make the playoffs, you win 11 games, and he still doesn't keep his job. I find it hard to believe that Steve Wilks is going to hold on to this one, especially, you know, they're going to get, if they continue to lose like they should be, they're going to be getting a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, a Will Levis to come in and quarterback this team because they've learned their lesson bargain shopping at quarterback. And you can even see, you know, to a certain degree in the AFC, the Colts have been doing the same thing for the last few years. They've been, you know, filtering in and out of these average to below average quarterbacks, and it's not working, and it's working even less for Carolina. So you've got to go get that guy, and it would be an absolute travesty if they, you know, scrap together 6 or 7 wins and they're picking at 9 and have to pick another defensive player because they're not in the market for a quarterback, and you've been giving up draft picks to try and win with the roster you have, so you can't really move up either. Like, you gave up your 3rd-round pick this year for Matt Corral. I know you were able to recoup some of that with the Christian McCaffrey trade, but, man, it's a rough spot. And for that reason, I'm taking Carolina to win this game, spread and money line. So, like I said, I think Steve Wilks is going to try and win his job. This is a bad pass rush that won't be able to take advantage of Carolina's weak offensive line. Give P.J. Walker time. He was able to get time last week, and he had the best passer grade of the week, was able to score 21 points to Tom Brady's 3. So what the hell is Marcus Mariota going to do to stop that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still going to take Atlanta on both the spread and the money line. I don't know. Honestly, you know, you go from P.J. Walker not completing a pass beyond the line of scrimmage to him having the best passer rating that week. You know, I have no idea what to expect in this one, honestly. You know, the Falcons have been playing all right football. They've been good. I'm not here to argue the Falcons. In fact, I agree with your consensus on the Falcons, so we're not going to sit here and spend another 30 minutes arguing that.
Oh, I will. Don't tempt me with a good time. I will argue about the Falcons' power ranking position.
I agree with the Falcons. But yeah, I'm going to take Atlanta on both the lines here. Yeah, it's just insane to think about, honestly.
Yep. The Bucs and Saints, who you could have picked either one of those teams to win this division, and you wouldn't have been called insane preseason. If you picked the Falcons or the Panthers to win this decision, you would have been checked into an asylum immediately. So the fact that, like, I don't care that it's week 8, the fact that this is even a conversation this late into this, I mean, if it was week 3 and they could have taken the lead in the division, I would have been a little concerned for what's going on in the NFC South. But moving on to our next game here, we've got the Chicago Bears going to AT&T Stadium to play the Dallas Cowboys. This might be a fun one, dude. I like what I've been seeing from Chicago recently after I was shitting on them for many, many weeks about how terrible their franchise is and how they decided not to put anything around Justin Fields. And guess what? They didn't. But they're finally doing what they need to do to win football games. Is that a good thing? Probably not. With the current state of their roster, but they do move Robert Quinn this week. They get a 4th-round pick back from Philly, so you are trying to recoup some draft assets to go out and build a team around Justin Fields if that's your guy. They've started leaning into the Justin Fields run game, and I think this is exactly what you need to do with Justin Fields if you want to win football games, and I think this might be what you start to see more often as far as like the term of game manager quarterback. Like, you typically think of a guy that can't move, can't get out of the pocket, is just going to throw the ball short all the time, slants, screens, curls, little stuff like that. But on the flip side of that, you can game manage as a read option quarterback like Justin Fields, and then a more successful example like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not like the most dynamite thrower in the league, but they win games by running the football with him and with the other running backs that they have there, and they can use that to get the pass game working and get more open throws that he's more comfortable with throwing. And that's what they were doing with Justin Fields last week, and you do that, you beat the New England Patriots, you beat Bill Belichick. I like what I saw there. And then on the Dallas side, Dak came back last week, despite the fact that Kane thinks that they narrowly beat the Lions. It was an 18-point victory. So you got to be pretty happy with that. Hopefully this is a game for Dak and the Cowboys that can put to rest the whole Dak Prescott versus Cooper Rush narrative, which is borderline insanity. I'll hand it over to you for what you got for this game.
Yeah. I mean, I do like what Chicago's doing with, running the read option scheme, that whole thing, managing the clock, not making Justin make these huge throws, because honestly, he hasn't shown that he's ready for that yet. I do think he can. I'm a Justin Fields guy. I like him. I liked him as a prospect, even in comparison to like Trevor Lawrence. I definitely think he can do great things. They just have failed to put everything around him. If that's, I don't think that's understatement. Yeah, they have failed to put anything around him. But they're gonna run the football like 40 times a game, and they might win. They might win against you. But I mean, to do it against Bill Belichick, I mean, honestly, that was impressive. I thought that was impressive. But yeah, I mean, in reference to this Dallas offense, I mean, what Kane say, they barely won. I mean, an 18-point victory against Detroit's defense. I mean, that defense is like butter, dude. You gotta cut through them. Like, it is, especially with that offense. But yeah,
I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, I definitely think Dallas is gonna win this handedly. I do think that, just because their defense has been so good.
9.5.
Micah,
10 points though. Do you think they beat them by 10 points? Because 9.5, they gotta beat them by 10.
I do. Chicago's offense is not good enough for Dallas's defense. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, Micah Parsons is like the second coming of Christ. I would give my left arm and my left leg to have him on the Cardinals with how weak we are at defense right now. It's ridiculous how good he is.
I was leaning Cowboys money line, but Bears on the spread until you mentioned Micah Parsons, and then I realized that the Bears' offensive line sucks.
It is terrible.
So that makes it tough, because I do think that we could 100%, because 10 points, 17-point deficit they scored. Well, no, they got to get to 9. 9's a tough number. Mm-hmm. I don't think they get to 9. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think they get to 9. Their pass blocking unit did look a lot better last week against New England, 77 grade, which is their highest since week 1 by a significant margin. But none of those guys can do anything about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons cannot be guarded or blocked by one man.
It is ridiculous.
And he definitely can't be blocked by 3 Chicago men. So for that reason, I think I'm probably going to be taking Dallas on both here, especially at home. And Dak Prescott was able to get a tune-up game. You are missing Zeke for this one, so watch out, Tony Pollard. All the people that have held Tony Pollard all year, this is your payoff game. Chicago's run defense is terrible, so you should have fun with this one. Moving on here to Cowboys' opponent of last week, we got the Lions playing the Dolphins in Detroit. This could get ugly. The just like initial reaction. Obviously, we've heard all about Detroit's defense all year and how terrible it is, and the Dolphins' offense, which listen, for 20 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever. Last week against Pittsburgh looked unstoppable. I was like borderline depressed for the entire first quarter and chunks of the second quarter, because that read option shit, they ran it so well that it felt like every pass that he threw, there was like no corner within 5 to 10 yards of the pass catcher almost every time. And then from then on, it was like nothing. Like I did not care to watch their offense. Like I didn't even notice anything was going on, because it was just so stagnant. Tua, technically, I mean, I guess he put the ball in the Steelers' DB's hands 3 times because one was off of his receiver's hands. But
it was crazy.
we did have 4 dropped picks in that game, so 4 times that Tua could have turned the ball over to us and gave us better field position than we had if they punted. And we weren't able to catch them because I can't even say it. We don't have any hands. We are people without hands back there in the DB room. On the Detroit side, though, we just talked about their game against Dallas. This defense is terrible. This was coming into this, not really coming into the season, but as we got on into the season, first couple weeks, they were in a lot of close games and they just couldn't close them out. So like I remember at one point we had the Lions at like 15 and we were just like, oh, they just can't close out these games. So we got to move them down a little bit. And then Swift gets hurt and then Amon-Ra St. Brown gets hurt. And now they're 1-5. And it's really hard to see them turning it around at this point, especially this week against an offense like this. Tyreek Hill currently leading the league in receiving yards by a significant margin. Lions better lose and better keep losing because Goff's not the answer, and you've got other teams starting to enter this tanking unit. But you go ahead and give me your takeaway.
I mean, yeah, like I'm just gonna start with Miami. That their offense is so explosive, like ridiculously explosive. And I'm not a huge Tua guy. I'm just not. I'm sorry, Kane. I'm not a huge Tua guy. But I mean, in the whole Tua Herbert narratives that I've started to see recently, that needs to stop. That needs to absolutely stop. I know the Chargers are having a rough time this year, but that needs to cease. That is bad. But yeah, I do think that this Miami offense is going to absolutely dice up this Lions defense. It is just terrible. It's terrible. I mean, Jeff Okudah's been great. He's been good, but you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, what are you going to do against that, honestly? And, Goff is obviously not the answer. He is not. He looks solid through those first few weeks, but, I mean, this is a team I want to root for so bad, but you got to show me something. I mean, the offense has looked great, but it's just the defense has just been historically bad. It is ridiculous. I don't even know what to say, honestly. Give me Miami in every line to ever exist, honestly.
Miami will dominate Detroit in every imaginable statistic in this game.
It's ridiculous.
I will slap that on a quote graphic for you and put that up on the Instagram. Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. Detroit has the worst coverage grade in the NFL right now. They are first, and second and third are the two teams we're about to talk about. But before I do a stupid little transition there, I'm going to take the Dolphins on both. Now we can do our transition to our next two teams, which are the Vikings and the Cardinals. This game's going to be played in Minnesota. Your Arizona Cardinals. My thing to look out for, and it was going to be my thing for the Cardinals, was like, Minnesota has the second worst coverage grade in the NFL, but the Cardinals have the third worst coverage grade in the NFL. So really not an advantage there. Obviously, you have two marquee wide receivers going, not head-to-head, but playing in this game in Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Hopkins. Two relatively high-powered offenses with Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Benjamin. The problem with Arizona is that defense, man. It wasn't expected to be good, but like there are teams that have played above expectations, and they're not one of them, unfortunately. I don't want to talk too much about this one because this is pretty much why you're here. So I'm gonna toss it over to you.
Yeah. So our defense, honestly, has been solid these past few weeks, aside from the Saints game, where of course we have the 2 pick sixes in like a minute and a half, which was nuts. But yeah, we've been all right for these past few games, but I've always known that like we're not a good defense at all. We just don't have the talent. We don't have the pass rush. We're like working on the linebackers, I guess, with Zayvon Collins and Isaiah Simmons, who's playing like 60% of snaps, 8th overall pick, by the way. Byron Murphy's been great. Our safeties have been great. Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker, that's a great duo. But other than that, we're like, it's ridiculous. We're getting cut up. That Kansas City game is still fresh in my mind, where Patrick Mahomes was just dicing us up. It was crazy. But like in respect to our offense, our offense clicks with Hopkins. That's as simple as I can put it. I don't know what it is about Cliff and just not being able to do literally anything without DeAndre Hopkins on the field, but it's ridiculous, and I can't express I'm not going to get into a Cliff rant here, but it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I do think DeAndre Hopkins has a great game. I would also I'm going to watch out for Robbie Anderson this game. I do think 6 catches, roughly 70 yards, and a touchdown is very well in the possibility. I think I think Hollywood's out. Kyler's going to be looking for that second option. I do think DeAndre Hopkins just draws so much coverage, but you know, I do think Robbie Anderson has an impact on this game. Justin Jefferson, despite us being pretty good against wide receiver ones against teams, I mean, you can attest to this. I mean, Cooper Kupp had 4 receptions. He had a rushing touchdown, though, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Adams had, 2 catches, I think, for like 11 yards and a touchdown. We've been pretty good against the wide receiver ones. I think Justin Jefferson is going to dice us up. I don't know what it is. I just got a feeling. I think he's going to absolutely destroy us. But, what are the lines for this game?
Well, damn it, I was going to pick the Cardinals because of that reason. Because, not just because you said so, but I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I saw, obviously, you said Adams and Cooper Kupp. DK Metcalf also had a pretty rough day against the Cardinals. And your best corner is Byron Murphy, who plays in the slot. Justin Jefferson has been playing predominantly in the slot. Another guy who's been playing, or did play predominantly in the slot last Thursday, was DeAndre Hopkins. You talk about the Cooper Kupp role. They were deploying him a lot in that last week, and it was working very well, as we could see. Like you said, they clicked immediately with Hopkins in the lineup, and for that reason,
Definitely,
I'm going to be taking the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, you heard it. I'm taking the Cardinals as underdogs, 3.5-point dogs here in Minnesota.
No way.
I do think it's concerning, the fact that it's a 3.5-point line for a 5-1 Minnesota team versus a 3-4 Cardinals team. I think that says a lot about what Vegas thinks of the Vikings. But I'm going to be taking the Cardinals in this one. I think that they do shut down Justin Jefferson. I am worried about a good Dalvin Cook day, but I think that they ride this wave that they took the Cardinals offense from New Orleans and just keep getting Hopkins moving. There's not a single player in Minnesota's secondary that can guard Hopkins one-on-one. They're going to be deploying him in the slot. They're going to deploy him outside. You get Robbie Anderson this week as well to take the top off the defense, which you haven't had really since you lost Hollywood. I just got a feeling about this one. I don't have much more reasoning now, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising for you to take the Cardinals in literally anything, given your advent hate for them in every regard. But we can't win at home. We only win at away games for some odd reason. So I think I'm going to take the Cardinals on both here, despite my thought that Justin Jefferson will cut us up on defense. I do think we give way to the locking down the wide receiver one thing that we got going. I think that gives way here, because I just don't think we're gonna keep it going. But yeah, I do think I'm gonna take the Cardinals on both here. I do think it'll be a high scoring game, though. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be a great game to watch.
I don't have the total in front of me, but granted, every time I've been like, yeah, whatever the over is, just take it. Every time I've said that, I've been wrong. So maybe I should, stop doing that. But I don't think either one of these defenses can stop either one of these offenses. So I mean, granted, that is a recipe for a high-scoring game, but it never seems to work out that way. So I'm not even – I know all of you religiously follow my betting picks, so I don't want to lead anybody the wrong way here. So I'm not even gonna say anything. We're gonna move on to our next game, which is the Raiders going to New Orleans, play the Saints. The Raiders have been playing really good football recently. The Saints, not so much. I mean, playing good football and winning games is kind of different. I know that sounds stupid to the average listener. Not trying to talk down on our listeners. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean to sound like an ass there.
Jeez.
I know. Maybe we'll cut that. Or if I feel like I want to edit, we'll do that. Moving on. We got Vegas going to New Orleans. Vegas coming off a big win against Houston last week. New Orleans coming off a big loss against your Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football last week. So they get some rest here, and they're playing at home. Andy Dalton, despite the fact that he threw 2 pick sixes, was like the second highest graded quarterback in the NFL last week. I don't know. He had like a receiver drop the ball, and then he got hit as he was throwing the 2 pick sixes. Granted, they're together in a minute and a half, so it looks really bad on the scorecard. But you're watching the game; he actually played really well. Plus, I think the Cardinals did let off the gas a little bit once they went up by however many scores.
Definitely.
The biggest storyline for me in this game, and specifically in Vegas so far this season, is Josh Jacobs turning into an absolute madman running the football. I have never, I remember seeing it in Kansas City. I was like, there's no way that Josh Jacobs is under that uniform. There's just no way. Because I've, seen the majority of his career. Obviously, I'm not a Raiders fan, watching it every game, but I've never known Josh Jacobs to be a super explosive runner. He's just, it just felt like he was average at everything. Like, he's just your run-of-the-mill running back. And they declined his fifth-year option. They played him in the Hall of Fame game. All the signs preseason pointed to maybe they're looking to go to a committee approach. Josh McDaniels coming over from New England. That's one they've done for years now. So you would think that he'd bring that approach with him to Vegas. And Josh Jacobs is an absolute bell cow. Dude, he's the top 5 running back moving forward in fantasy. I firmly believe that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it was Houston last week, and but he's running the ball so well. They're getting him involved in the passing game a little bit as well, and there's a lot to go around in this offense. The defense hasn't been very good, so they're going to have to score a lot of points to stay in games. I know Adams is there, I know Waller is there sometimes, and Renfro is there, but man, I can't get over how good Josh Jacobs has been this season, and that might. As far as fantasy goes, that might be the single biggest surprise so far this season, in my opinion.
I fully agree with that, honestly. Josh Jacobs, he is playing with fire under his feet. It is absolutely ridiculous. I was at the hand of his 36-point fantasy game. That was not fun at all. I was just watching that game, and it felt like he was breaking off just 20-yard rushes just whenever the hell he wanted to, honestly. It was ridiculous. But if I were to look at one thing to watch out for in this matchup, it would definitely be to continue to see Josh Jacobs just continue this absolute scorching streak that he's on right now. It's ridiculous, honestly. But yeah, that's what I'm really – if I was going to watch this game, that would be what I look at, honestly. Screw the Devontae Adams, Marshawn Lattimore potential matchup. Yeah. Screw that. I want to see Josh Jacobs continue this, averaging 400 yards a carry.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I'm fairly certain Lattimore is banged up this week. Yeah, he has been already listed as out.
I saw he was questionable.
Saints defense is ranked 8th in rush defense right now. So, maybe we could see a little bit of regression here this week for Josh Jacobs. Again, also, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, both going to be out here for New Orleans. So you're really just looking at Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave as far as pass catchers go. Chris Olave's been another dude where, he's looked probably the best.
He's been awesome
of these rookie receivers so far this season.
He's been awesome.
I know Garrett Wilson has not been put in the best situation. We'll talk about the Jets in a little bit. And then the Falcons throw the ball 15 times a game, so it's really hard for Drake London to do anything worthwhile. And everybody else has been hurt between Jahan Dotson and Traylon Burks and all those guys, except for George Pickens, who's he's a cool guy.
He's doing his thing, the occasional awesome catch here and there.
He does things.
Getting 12 yards.
He does. Hey. He does things, and he looks.
I like to respect.
I want to get. I don't know what it's called, but the thing that he wears on his head. It's like a head cover, and it's got Steelers logo.
I know what
here.
you're talking about.
I don't know what the hell to call it, but I want to get one. The Jamar completely off topic here as we're talking about Raiders Saints. I'm afraid that the Steelers Bengals game that I'm going to is going to get flexed because now, first the Steelers sucked, then the Bengals weren't very good, and you got Kenny Pickett in there for marketability for Pittsburgh, but now Jamar Chase is out, and the Chiefs and Chargers play that day, and so do the Cowboys and Vikings, and who the hell wants to watch Pittsburgh and Cincinnati without Jamar Chase? I know I don't, but that blows. Anyway, Raiders Saints. The line is -1.5, so to me, anything less than 3, and this is probably not good betting advice as someone who's never legally placed a sports bet. This just feels like a pick 'em to me. When it's less than 3, I always just be like, okay, I'm just picking money lines here. This is a toughie. I didn't really prepare here, as you can tell.
Raiders.
Really? Tell me why while I think about this.
They've just been playing good football recently. I know they're 2-5.
2-4, yeah.
I know they just 2-4. I know they just won their second game of the season, but give me the Raiders. Honestly, they've been playing good football. Josh Jacobs has been an absolute nuclear weapon.
Well, you sold me. You did it. Damn it. I'll tell you, you told me they're playing good football. I believe you. I'm going to be taking the Raiders as well. I did like a lot of what I saw from them against Kansas City a few weeks ago, and then obviously they beat the living dog piss out of the Texans behind Josh Jacobs. So, and the Saints, they're just too banged up, man. I can't trust them, and I can't trust Andy Dalton despite his
injured,
gingerness. Even though the fact, all the gingers playing quarterback now are done. It's just Dalton. So all the ginger luck goes to him because Wentz is down, Cooper Rush is down. It's just Dalton for the rest of the year, unless Dak gets hurt again or Carson Wentz miraculously recovers here. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at
it's a dying breed of football.
Yeah, I know.
That ginger. Yeah.
It's rough out here for us, but we keep on chugging. And we are going to keep on chugging to Patriots Jets. I wish we
That was a good transition.
I was about to say I wish we were playing a team with a train, but there are no teams with trains. Patriots, fresh off of a fucking shit kick in by, I don't know what the hell that is, against the Bears on Monday Night Football. I can count on one hand how many people saw that coming outside of the Illinois area.
Right?
And then the Jets, they beat Jesus Christ. They beat the Broncos 16-9 with Brett Rypien at quarterback. Not really a good showing there. Breece Hall breaks off a 65-yard touchdown run. 2 plays later, tears his ACL, so he's done for the year. Elijah Vera Tucker, also done for the year. I have legit concerns about this Jets team, and I was probably higher than most people on them just the week before last as far as the power rankings go. I think I had them, I was one of the main people pushing for them to be in Tier 2 and into the higher tier of that Tier 2. But now, Breece Hall's out. I know you grabbed James Robinson, but he's not Breece Hall. Breece Hall was playing at a top 5 or 6 running back level over the last few weeks. And Elijah Vera Tucker was your best lineman. You don't have Becton all year. Now you're down Vera Tucker too. I know you grabbed Laken Tomlinson to kind of shore up that line for this reason, but now with Vera Tucker out, Zach Wilson has not been playing good football. He just hasn't. They're winning in spite of him, not, because of him. He is, I believe, the 3rd worst quarterback PFF grading-wise right now. And Sam Monson of the PFF NFL podcast pulled up this insane stat of Zach Wilson when he is, in structure, not being pressured, able to deliver the ball. He has an 89 grade, which is towards the top of it would probably be 1 or 2 in the league. Yeah. And when he is under pressure, he has a 25 grade, which is far and away the worst in the league. And now you don't have Elijah Vera Tucker, who was your best lineman, and you don't have Breece Hall to help you create play action off of. Because you have the threat of one of the best, guy that was playing one of the best running backs in the league at that time to, get play action off of and get you protection that way. Look, man, I do not have a whole lot of faith in this Jets offense moving forward. Their defense is playing fantastic. I've loved what Sauce Gardner's been doing this year, obviously playing one of the best corners in the league. And even DJ Reed on the other side of him has been playing one of a top 10 corner borderline. Now that he's been moved to the outside as opposed to being in the slot in Seattle. But I don't trust them moving forward. And look, I don't like New England. I don't think they're a very good team. But New England has generally had the Jets number over the last few years. I believe they won something 51-13 last year, which I'm sure is some really nice bulletin board material in New York. But despite this game being in New York, I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Jets moving forward, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just the loss of Breece Hall is just honestly catastrophic for this team. He was it really felt like him and the defense were really the only reason they were winning. As you said, of course, Zach Wilson has not been good as a quarterback, despite what many believe. I know the whole, he's winning football games. It's not him. It's the defense. It's the rookies that have stepped up. It's Breece Hall. I mean, and Breece Hall's gone now. You're not going to replace him with James Robinson. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. So I am really worried about this Jets team and what they're able to do. Yeah, I mean, Breece Hall is just catastrophic loss. My apologies go out to every Breece Hall fantasy owner out there. Yeah, it's bad. And the New England's defense is no joke. I know it might not have been shown against the Bears last week. But, obviously this is a Bill Belichick run defense. They're gonna do New England things. It's as simple as that. Give me New England on both lines.
Yeah. New England's favored by 2.5 here, which was weird. Like I just said it to you, like, surely we did not just take a cut there. So I didn't just say anything.
Definitely
to
not.
you.
No.
But I thought it was weird that, like, I remember looking at this game and be like, "Ooh, I think I'm going to take the Pats. It's a spicy little upset," and they're freaking favored by 2.5 on the road against a 5-2 Jets team after losing to the Bears, who were definitively one of the worst teams in the league, on a short week. Like, blows my mind. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Patriots on money line and spread here. Listen, I don't trust this whole, like, rotating between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi thing, but realistically, I don't think that was the reason. Whoever was the quarterback, I don't think it was the reason why they were winning anyway. Like, I think the difference between those two is minuscule to begin with, because I'm not a big Mac Jones believer. Not saying I'm a huge Zappi believer. I just think they're just putting the Patriots offense to do. Yeah, I mean, it's Bill though. It's Bill. Like I remember saying it 2 weeks ago.
Bill is weird. Bill is weird.
I remember saying it 2 weeks ago. If anybody's gonna just be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna ride with the hot hand," it's Bill. And Zappi played the second half, but now we got Mac Jones back, which is
he's a weird guy. I mean, it's just Bill.
Yeah,
he's gonna do weird things.
Yeah, which is very boring, but
boring.
I guess it's winning football games, so I guess they should keep doing it. All right, moving on to our next game here. We could probably just skim over this one. This is going to be the Steelers and the Eagles. Shocker!
Oh, no,
shocker!
I really
here.
want to talk about this one.
The 6-0 Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 10.5 points against Pittsburgh. Oh man, where do I start here? They have a really good running game. Our run defense is really bad. They have two of the best corners in the NFL so far this season. Our receivers are fine, but they're not, enough to hold or do anything against Darius Slay and James Bradbury combination. They also have 8 pass rushers that can give you consistent production, and our offensive line stinks. Kenny Pickett, I know I talked about it a little bit in the episode, the Power Rankings episode. He looks the part. He looks like a dude. I know he's got 7 picks to 3 turnover-worthy plays, which really sucks for the guy's confidence because he probably isn't looking at what PFF's giving him on a grade perspective. But obviously the coaches can see, hey, that's really not your fault. So statistically it doesn't look good, but realistically he's not playing that bad. He's forcing the ball down the field, which is something that we haven't done. In brighter news, though, supposedly, if we play this week and the offense isn't really doing that well, which we're playing the 6-0 Philadelphia Eagles, by the way, so it won't, that our neighbor Matthew Canada will be gone. And I cannot express my happiness enough about that, because all the people that blame the offensive line and Trubisky and all these other factors, and I was just like, maybe if we didn't run streaks and stops every play, we'd be able to create a little bit more offensive yardage. And it's been the same thing all year, and surprise, surprise, we aren't doing anything on offense. So hopefully we just come out and shit the bed against an undefeated team. For 3 hours on Tuesday, I was like, you know what? We're going to beat the Eagles this week. I just got a weird feeling. But
3 hours?
For 3 hours at most. Not even conscious, 3 hours of thought about it. I thought about it, and then I thought about it again 3 hours later, and I was like, nah, never mind. Fun little stat here. The Steelers, the storied, 6-time Super Bowl champions, consistently, generally one of the best teams in the league here, have not beat the Philadelphia Eagles at home since 1965.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So,
Dude.
And obviously,
almost beat them.
Yeah. Since in, north of 60 years now.
That is crazy.
The Steelers, again, generally have been one of the best teams in the league. And the Eagles, not to, shit on the Eagles here, but generally they're a fairly average franchise. Again, no offense. They're you guys are undefeated. You have one of the best rosters in the NFL. But generally,
you guys are doing
historically,
great things. I like your team.
Relatively average franchise, have not beat them at home since 1965. So cross Pennsylvania rivalry, I think the Eagles likely get the best of us here, but I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really just looking at how Kenny Pickett addresses this absolute bastion of secondary that they formed with James Bradbury and Darius Slay. I'm also looking at how how Kenny Pickett addresses the pressure that he's going to receive by this bastion of a defensive line. The Eagles defense is insane. It is crazy. I've just, Kenny, I'm willing to cut Kenny Pickett some slack just because I've seen Matt Canada's play calling. I've watched a few Steelers games. It's nothing
God
short of
bless you.
horrendous. I mean, you've compared him to a domestic terrorist. I can't really argue with that myself. But it's crazy. I'm really honestly, if I were a Steelers fan, I would probably just look at how the defense addresses Philly. Honestly, I wouldn't even pay any attention to the offense. You know that's probably going to stink, but just how the defense steps up. I mean, obviously, I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is playing like the best safety in the league right now. And yes, Mitchell over Derwin James. I'm sorry, but honestly, I think just focus on the good, Jaden. I can't stress this enough. Just focus on the good, because it's probably not going to be good. But that being said, you know what? Give me
and before you make your pick here, it is not confirmed, but it definitely seems to be leaning that T.J. Watt will be playing this week.
T.J. Watt returns, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So that does make things a little interesting here.
Said 10.5? 10.5?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think Philly does not cover. I think Pittsburgh is able to cover the spread.
Look at you.
Give me Philly on the money line, though.
You are sillier than I. I'm taking the Eagles on both. I don't trust the Steelers to score enough points to stay in this here. Again, I love the way that Kenny Pickett's been playing. Hopefully we see a more aggressive. I mean, obviously he's been much more aggressive than Mitchell Trubisky was, for example. Keep showing it. Keep doing it. I don't care if you throw 8 picks a game. I know that it's probably going to shatter your confidence, but we're not trying to win games right now. I know that's not really the Steelers' MO, but I want draft picks. I want draft position. I want Chase Claypool to be traded as much as I love him, and I think he's a good player. I don't think he'll ever be maximized by this offense, and the asking price is a second-round pick right now, and if you can get a second-round pick out of a guy who you drafted with a second-round pick 3 years ago, you get 3 years of service, return the exact same pick value, don't have to give him a contract. That's just good business. If you're able to do that,
that is good business.
I mean, it's obviously what we saw from Baltimore this past offseason with Hollywood Brown. Take him with a first-round pick, get 4 years out of him, trade him for a first-round pick. That's the trade.
I now really like that trade. I was like kind of shaky on it to begin with, but Hollywood was absolutely great for us.
Yeah.
Until
of course now he will not play for another 4 to 5 weeks. But
sad to see, honestly. But yeah.
You live and you learn, I guess. I don't know. Just random.
Not if you're Steve Keim.
Random phrase there. Yeah. Steve Keim will not. And honestly though, you do learn there, because if you're Steve Keim, what player would you have drafted that would have been better than Hollywood? What player would you have drafted that would have played for your team? Because
very true. That's why I like Hollywood. Man.
The last 2 draft picks have had a little trouble getting on the field, which is really all you can ask for from a first-round pick. But hey,
Zaven's been all right. He's been okay.
Excuse me.
And that's all you can ask for what, a 16th overall pick? Yeah. And an 8th overall pick, I guess? I don't know.
I guess. Moving on. I have, just to confirm, despite the return of T.J. Watt, I've still got Philly in this one on both. Mm-hmm. Moving on, I accidentally changed the slide too. It wasn't even like too early. I just wasn't thinking and just changed the slide. We got the Titans going to Houston here. Tannehill is still questionable in this game, so we might see Malik Willis versus Davis Mills. Let's go. But on the positive side, Derrick Henry versus Dameon Pierce. Fun little running back matchup there. Two of the best tackle breakers in the NFL right now. I do think the fact that Ryan Tannehill is out means, you got Malik Willis in there. We are going to see a lot of read option from this Tennessee offense if Malik Willis is a starting quarterback. More than usual, we're going to see, a lot of play action from this offense, which is pretty much their MO to begin with. So I do see a big day for Derrick Henry, which kind of foreshadows my pick of this game. Houston, what do you want me to talk about, honestly? Dameon Pierce is cool. There's literally nothing else cool to talk about here. You fucked up the Stingley pick, even though he was my number one player. You clearly should have taken Sauce Gardner because you keep taking a man coverage corner who you would literally – the reason why you take a corner at number 3 overall is so he can erase one player from the offense. You can play 10 on 10. And they're just putting him in a hard flat every fucking play because Lovie Smith just loves him some cover 2. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me when they drafted him. I thought they were going to be changing up their schemes a little bit. But clearly not. They're going to be moving forward running cover 2, at least for the remainder of this season. I think that says a lot about what the front office thinks of Lovie Smith and how long he's going to be their head coach there, that drafting of Derek Stingley anyway. But again, what do you want me to say here? You guys are tanking. You're trying to lose games. There's no optimism anywhere. The Astros are in the World Series. Take that, run with it. And the Rockets didn't get Paulo Banchero. So you got 1 out of 3 right now. Really just fucking dunking on Houston right now. But cheaters. Moving on. What do you got for this game?
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, Derrick Henry's going to get 40 touches this game. And he's going to get probably 200 yards because that's just what Derrick Henry does against the Houston Texans. I will say, first off, Houston, trade Brandon Cooks. For the love of Christ, please get him out of there. I mean, what the hell use do you have for him? He's obviously your best player. While I do think that Stingley's been good, he has been no Sauce Gardner. And, obviously – not like the Titans have any great receivers that you really need to lock down and, because Treylon Burks is still injured. But, Houston's run defense can't stop shit. And the Titans have Derrick Henry, and you will not stop that man. Not if you're the Houston Texans. Never have, never will. So, give me the Texans on both lines.
The Texans on both lines?
Not the Texans.
After all you just said? The Texans can't do anything right. So with that being said, give me the Texans on both. Going full Costanza. Yeah.
The Titans.
Another team, and we were just talking about Claypool. The Titans make a lot of sense for Chase Claypool. They like their big receivers. Obviously, You could see that with A.J. Brown, Treylon Burks. These guys that can also run block as well as be dominant in the play-action game where, they're getting open off that. They don't need to separate in regular sets. I think he makes a lot of sense here if you're Tennessee and you're trying to buy in now with Tannehill injured and, some – you got a chance to win this division without, anything crazy happening to the Colts. They're going to Sam Ehlinger this week, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But if you want to make a move here, I think Chase Claypool is an excellent ad for you guys, for the Tennessee Titans fans that are surely watching this podcast. But, yeah, I'm going to be – what was the freaking spread? I know it had to be double digits. It's 2.5?
Yeah,
no
give me that shit.
That's right. Hold on a goddamn minute.
No, there's
Wait
no
a freaking second.
No way. That is insane.
I mean, yeah,
I know,
okay, yeah, the Texans
aren't awesome, but Jesus fucking Christ, they can't defend my grandmother from running around them. Jesus Christ, dude. 2.5.
I need live lines. Somebody give me live lines.
Vegas, give me live lines.
Somebody give me live lines immediately before I lose my mind. It's 2.5. DraftKings has him at 3.
That's crazy.
PointsBet has him at 2.5. Yeah,
give me all of the lines.
This might be the spread alert pick of the week here. I'm hammering this one.
Trade Brandon Cooks.
Yes,
please.
Yeah, trade Brandon Cooks before Sunday, and I'll really make some money off of this one.
Trade him to the Packers or something.
Yeah. Give me Tennessee ridiculous. By 2.5 by a field goal. Come on, man, that's money.
That is
moving
free.
on to our next game. which I wish I would have known that we were going to talk about Sam Ehlinger here because I would have said that just a second ago. Did you think when we came into the season that, obviously this is the Carson Wentz revenge game. He gets to go back into Indianapolis and play the Colts, and Matt Ryan gets to prove why, he's better than Carson Wentz and he's an upgrade. No, absolutely not. We're watching Taylor Heineke play Sam Ehlinger this week, which is obviously the game that we all circled coming into this week. That
was what I wanted.
This honestly is America's game of the week for obvious reasons. I don't even know what to say, dude. I don't know. Let's really quickly, I guess this is a talking point here. Let's talk Jonathan Taylor's fantasy value moving forward. He hasn't been healthy consistently this year, and when he has been, it's not looked fantastic. Like he's put up 15, 16, but this was the number one pick in probably 90% of leagues. So you expect a little bit more than that from him. He puts up 10 carries for 58 yards last week, no scores, but he does catch the ball 7 times for only 27 yards. I don't know if that's something they're going to be moving forward with. Obviously, Sam Ehlinger doesn't really provide a lot throwing the ball. That's why he's been a backup for the entirety of his career so far, but he does add a little bit of mobility. So maybe like I was talking about with Tennessee, where they kind of lead into the run game a little bit, run some read option stuff with him and Taylor. Maybe that gets him a little bit more involved. I know Kane was talking about it last week where he was saying, if the Commanders can stop the run game, they'll beat the Packers. And lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. So I'd imagine that the game plan is similar coming into this week against a better running back, but probably a worse offense at this point in time. And then on the Washington side, I don't know what to make of any part of this team. I don't know if their defense is good. I don't know if their offense is good. I know that their offense isn't good. Let me backtrack on that. Their offense is not good.
Their defense is okay, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is, it should be so much better. Like, it should be much better than it is. I know Chase Young isn't there, but you've still got Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Kendall Fuller, William Jackson for the time being. Wait, no, he's gone. Or not gone, but he's not playing because he's unhappy, right? I don't think he's playing.
I think he had
This is such a shitter, man. Honestly, there was slightly more to talk about with the Titans and Texans game.
Yeah, this
sucks. Anyway, do you have a thing here? For Christ's sakes.
So I have a thing.
Just say your thing.
I don't know. The Colts run game has really not. Well, their whole offensive line in general has not gotten anything going on either side of run blocking or pass protecting. It's a shitter. It's exactly what you said it is. I still think Jonathan Taylor is going to do great things. I think he'll still be good. He's still a number one running, not like the number one overall running back in fantasy. He's still an RB1.
A number one running back in fantasy.
He's still a RB1 in fantasy, obviously, just because if I drafted Jonathan Taylor at the 101, I would not let go of that narrative ever, honestly. I don't care if he averages 8 points for the next, for the rest of the season. He's still an RB1 in my eyes. I'm just not letting go of that value. But, yeah, the Commanders. I mean, what the hell am I supposed to say here, honestly? Taylor Heineke's cool. Got some swag to him. Him and Terry McLaurin are cool, pretty cool. I guess I like that. That's about all I got when it comes to the Commanders. It's just such a boring team. I'm sorry, Kane. I really am.
He's got some swag to him.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke's just a cool guy. He's just a cool guy. Their defense is actually all right though. I think they should be okay when it comes to this. What is the lines for this game?
Colts by 3. Colts -3 at home. So neutral field. This is a pick 'em.
Yeah, I'll take the Colts on both. Just because I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to take Washington on both. This just feels weird. Sam Ehlinger getting his first start.
Yeah.
I think he's going to struggle
Sam Ehlinger's.
here. Obviously, Montez Sweat and that pass rush might be able to get some pressure on him, get him rattled early. Let's play a quick game, though, before we move on to the next game. Would you rather with Jonathan Taylor rest of season?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First up, Joe Mixon or Jonathan Taylor? This might
Jonathan Taylor.
Start a little easier. Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
Nick Chubb or Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
Alvin Kamara or Jonathan Taylor?
Shit. Okay. I don't know. Alvin Kamara saw that. Just he's got that garbage time. Just Alvin Kamara is great in garbage time. But still, give me Jonathan Taylor. I'll still take Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. It's really hard to do this game with a guy who's like pretty consensus top 3 because the only guys that you can be like, I'll think about that is the 2 guys in front of him. I mean, Leonard Fournette's an easy one at this point. Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor rest of season?
That's actually pretty difficult, honestly. Shit, dude, I like Derrick Henry. I had him last year before he broke his goddamn foot and screwed me.
Right.
You know what? Give me Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. This is not something I thought I'd say at any point ever. Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor?
Rest of the season? Okay.
You wouldn't. I don't know if you'd even be crazy to say Josh Jacobs now. I don't even think you'd be insane.
God. Because Josh Jacobs is getting like 25 goddamn touches a game. It is absolutely ridiculous.
He's averaging 22 points per game, which I'm pretty sure would be RB1. I know Saquon's RB2 right now.
Eckler's been averaging like damn near 30 points. And
the only reason why Josh Jacobs isn't the RB1 is because he's already had his bye.
It's crazy. Shit, dude. I don't know, man. This, give me Josh Jacobs. Crucify me if you will.
And then last one, and then we'll move on.
I'm going to take Josh Jacobs.
Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor moving forward rest of the season?
Probably Christian McCaffrey. Just because I want to see him, I think Christian McCaffrey, if they give him the usage required for him to be a great running back, which Kyle Shanahan, granted, is not known to do, I do think Christian McCaffrey behind this 49ers O-line will be absolutely nuts. I think it'll be crazy. You're a McCaffrey owner yourself, so I'm glad that you got to hear that from me. I'm sure you're smiling. There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Give me McCaffrey.
Yeah. All right.
No Eckler in there?
Well, I felt like I left Eckler and Saquon out just because I feel like they're pretty cut and dry for the rest of the season.
I think they're 1 and 2 interchangeable, honestly.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then I think McCaffrey's in his own tier at 3 right now. And then everything else is a crap. Like Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. You can even throw Nick Chubb in there right now. Kamara might be working his way into that tier as well. And then after that,
I think Kamara is.
I mean, Breece Hall was in that tier, probably not anymore. Kenny Walker might be a game or 2 away from that tier as well. But
Ken Walker, love that guy.
Be a dude. All right, moving forward.
He is a dude.
Next game. This is a big one, or technically, record-wise, it's not a big one. But 49ers Rams, big divisional matchup here, NFC West. Somebody's got to knock the Seahawks off their crown or off their throne here. Somebody's got to knock the Seahawks off the crown.
Unbelievable.
This one's going to be in L.A. We saw what happened on Monday Night Football. Deebo Samuel was able to really take over that game and get the 49ers a win. The Rams have had problems with good pass rushes all year long. The 49ers have a good pass rush. Granted, Eric Armstead, I think, is still questionable. I know Bosa's back, but Samson Ebukam still out. Eric Armstead, we don't know. And Bosa's back, though. Joe Noteboom did tear his ACL, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago, so the best player on your offensive line is now gone. Bosa usually lines up against the right tackle, but I think they'd be stupid to not line him up against the left tackle because you're now playing like a second to third string guy at left tackle, and Bosa is one of the best pass rushers in the game. And the 49ers have generally done a good job at holding Aaron Donald in these games that they've played against each other. They've obviously got to see him a lot over the years, and they've drawn up a lot of really creative things to keep him out of the backfield. And, when you have Jimmy Garoppolo you've got to draw up those things by getting these quick passes off to all these rack monsters that they have in Deebo Samuel and Ayuk and now McCaffrey as well as George Kittle. I don't know, man. The Rams, it feels like they're getting ready to break through every week and like figure it out, but then, or not like, break through, but every week I go into the week feeling like, you know what, this is the week I'm going to feel better about the Rams, and then I just don't. Whether they win or lose, I'm kind of unmoved by what they've shown me this week. But what do you got for Niners-Rams?
So I'm going to go out just say I have the Niners winning this game, but I will say I am excited to see if the Rams figure this thing out. Obviously they've been struggling all year. Matt Stafford has been not great. He's been pretty bad actually. Not
great is very kind.
He just hyper targets Cooper Kupp, and it's not working. I mean, for fantasy it's working. But honestly, yeah. I do think the 49ers are still going to win this just because the Rams' offensive line has been atrocious. It has been terrible. And the 49ers' pass rush is really, really good. So I do think that they're going to dominate on that end. I would also like to see how McCaffrey addresses this Rams run defense, which has actually been pretty solid. So yeah, honestly, I really want to watch McCaffrey, get in tune with this offense, see his snap share increase, more carries, more receptions, hopefully. Just see the usage that we're used to seeing with McCaffrey. I don't know if it'll be as high as it was with the Panthers, but Kyle Shanahan's never been that kind of guy. But they gave a lot for him, a lot. Yeah. It was a lot. If you don't use that guy, you are an idiot.
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan. I'm sorry. This is to you. But
I mean, I think you've got to use him. Like you were saying, you gave a lot to get him. I mean, clearly they obviously think of him very highly. To your point, and I guess to my point as well about the Rams against pass rushes. I mean, this has been the formula to beat them: is have a good pass rush. You look at their 3 losses so far this year: Buffalo, good pass rush; San Francisco, good pass rush; Dallas, good pass rush. Their 3 wins: Atlanta, bad pass rush; Arizona, bad pass rush; Carolina has Brian Burns, but generally a bad pass rush. Plus, they're Carolina, so
it's Carolina.
It's really tough to do anything right. They're an anomaly in all forms.
It is.
I'm also going to be on the Niners here as well. This is the spread's Niners by 1, so this is essentially a pick 'em in my. Like I said, in my mind, this is a pick 'em.
Give me the Niners.
Yeah, the Rams, man. It's rough out here for them, and
it is.
There's no teams don't just have it's not like running backs or wide receivers where teams just have spare left tackles hanging around, because there's just not that many good offensive linemen in the league. Because if there was, you'd obviously see a lot better production. You'd see a lot better football, to be quite honest with you. But unless they can pull Andrew Whitworth off of Thursday Night Football, or I don't know. I did see something saying that the Cowboys were considering cutting Jason Peters to create a roster spot now that they're starting to get healthy along the offensive line. So maybe that's something you do. But there's no fix in sight here unless this guy comes in and just is fantastic, which I can't really see happening.
I agree, man. They got to figure something out. I don't think that week is this week, honestly. I don't think they figure it out this week, especially against the 49ers defense. Props to – how do you pronounce his first name? It's Hufanga is his last name? How do you pronounce that?
I have no idea, but I know his last – I know you're pronouncing his last name right, so.
Yeah, he has been ridiculous. Props to him. I just want to give his props, but ridiculous.
I don't like the Troy Polamalu comparisons, though. I know that he's got long hair, and I know he plays safety.
He's got the long hair.
But do not compare anyone to that man.
The long, curly
Best
hair.
safety of all time. Best safety of all time. Best safety of all time.
Ed Reed.
I'm going to mute your mic. Next game up is the only game this week between 2 teams with a winning record. In a week in which we had the Bucs and Ravens play, in which we have the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams play. And no, I'm not about to talk about the Bills and the Packers, because guess what? The Packers have a losing record. We're talking about the New York Football Giants and the Geno Smith-led Seattle Seahawks. This might actually be a fun one. I've been preying on the Giants' downfall for a few weeks now.
I love both teams, honestly.
I hate the Giants, man. I'm so fucking tired of them.
I
All they do is win games, and I hate it. They are the worst, like, overall team. Like, every player, everything that they do.
They're graded horribly.
They're graded last
graded horribly
in the NFL at 6-1. They are graded. You know who's actually third to last?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually
below the Texans and the Bears. Dude, the Chargers. This is actually an interesting little statistic.
PFF is a fucking scam. That is ridiculous.
The Chargers are
lower than the Texans.
Yeah, it's the Giants are worse, Lions second worst, then the Cardinals, then the Texans, then the Bears, and then the Chargers. Crazy.
Dude, go away, man. You don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this.
That's pretty rough. I might go back and change my Vikings pick, man.
We are back. Yeah. We are back. Hopkins is back.
Anyway, back to Seattle, New York. Dude, this Giants team, it's so frustrating just watching them win every week. Like, I can't even imagine being like an Eagles fan and like, oh my God, we're 6-0. And all anybody wants to talk about is the Giants winning by 2 yards every week and are somehow 6-1. Like, it would drive me insane. Literally lost by a yard last week. And Kane has the fucking nerve to say, they convincingly beat the Jags. After saying that, dude, that drove, I'm getting off the rails here. But that made me so mad when he said that the Cowboys narrowly escaped the Lions with an 18-point win, but the Giants convincingly beat the Jags by a yard.
Oh, shit.
Sometimes that guy, that host of mine,
guy.
He's something. I'll tell you one thing, dude. I'm a huge fan of Seattle, man. I love what they're doing. I like Geno a lot. I like Kenny Walker a lot. Obviously, DK Metcalf is still up in the air if he's going to be a go this week, but Tyler Lockett's been playing pretty well. Tariq Woolen, who is one of my big guys in the draft this year, has been very good, kind of getting outshined, rightfully so, by Sauce Gardner, but still having a great year. That defense is looking a lot better than it had been for the first few weeks. So I have a little bit more faith in Seattle as a whole moving forward because of that. What's your thing here?
Yeah, honestly, as a Cardinals fan, I have to have a bias towards Seattle. Fuck Geno Smith. That fucking guy. I hate that guy.
That is.
But
make me press the no, this is not for kids button.
Yeah,
as if I haven't been cussing this entire time.
But
anyway,
but Kenneth Walker, that guy, he has looked so good as a running. I honestly when they were playing us and he was averaging like 5 yards a carry, it was a joy. Like, I don't know, I love seeing it, honestly. And I'm a Kenneth Walker.
You're used to 7 or 8 yards a carry.
Myself, yeah, I'm used to. Yeah, exactly right. I'm used to like 10 yards a carry from a running back. So seeing 5 was a refreshing start. But yeah, just Kenneth Walker has looked absolutely dominant. Like, he is like, I know his comparison is Nick Chubb, but like it's actually Nick Chubb. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, Seattle's awesome, honestly. I do like what they're doing there with their offense and everything. That offense seems to be humming. Defense still has a lot of question marks on it, of course. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Seattle in this. So, that being said, I think I'm going to take Seattle on both lines here. They're just fun. They're fun to watch. It's a fun football team. The Giants, as much as I like Saquon as a football player, like, he is without a doubt one of the most talented running backs like ever that we've seen. But I just hate them as a team. Right. I just hate them as a team. Everybody besides Saquon, I hate all of them except for Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is pretty cool, but Brian Dable is pretty cool too. But besides those guys,
coach of the year right awesome. Now, like I don't know what to say to you. As
like
I said,
he's a total culture shift.
I don't like the Giants, and I don't think they're a good team. And like when we do our power rankings, and I was talking to them, and I was like, if you want to put the Giants in tier 1? Do you think the Giants are going to win a Super Bowl this year? Do you think there's any chance whatsoever of Danny Dimes playing 4 good games of football? I don't think there's any chance of him playing one good game of football because he realistically hasn't done that yet. Like one game where I'm
Sorry,
like,
he's
wow,
been average this year, Giants fans.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And
He's
I don't
been
even
average.
know if Giants fans would fight you too hard on that because
Yeah.
this team's being, I don't know. Giants fans, please comment on the video here. What do you like? What are your real thoughts here? Because like I'm sure you're excited. You're 6-1. This is the best record you've had to this point in the season in a very long time. But you've got to understand the state of this roster and the state of your quarterback room. How good do you think you are? Like honestly, what do you think your Super Bowl chances are? What do you want to do moving forward? Obviously, I mean, Dable was a slam dunk, and that's been made apparent very quickly here. But it's going to be a long time before they win this many games through 7 again. I can't see that. The next 7 games, I could see them go 1-6 and wouldn't be surprised a bit. Like
definitely,
without even looking at their schedule.
Saquon, dude, he is the reason these motherfuckers are winning the game, man. Like he is the reason they're winning games. It is crazy. I mean, Dable and Saquon, that is like, I mean, they're Danny Dimes he's doing all right. He's doing good, I guess, if you want to say that. But it's just I don't like them as a football team. I like the Seattle a lot more. I think they're a lot more fun
division rivals.
as a football team. My division rivals, that I'm supposed to hate, I think they're pretty fun as a football team compared to the Giants. I think that they get knocked off their high horse this week. Yeah. So yeah, give me Seattle.
I hope so. I'm so tired of putting them in like the same fucking tier as
I
the
know,
Bills.
especially after they beat the Ravens.
The fact that I just had to put Daniel Jones as my title slide makes me want to puke. Moving on here to the Sunday night matchup. Now this game, walking into the season, this was your marquee matchup. Like this is the game you circle for this week. This is probably the game you circle for like the first half of the season. Packers-Bills. It's going to be in Buffalo, and this is, I'm fairly certain, the biggest or tied for the biggest spread of the week. Bills by 10.5 points. That, to me, is absolutely insane. Just for the fact this is the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career that he is a double-digit underdog. And quite honestly, it's deserved. Like we'll talk about it a little bit, but dude. It's not a bad line. Like that's probably where it should be. I know a lot of the public money is probably going to be going to Green Bay here because it's Aaron Rodgers, and like I know Tyler said it on the Power Rankings. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna have shit." I'm so sorry,
dude.
I know that was a biggie. Ooh.
That was a big yawn.
I've done too much cutting. This idiot forgot who the Seahawks were playing. I had to make a cut for that, so I'm not making a cut for that yawn. You kidding me?
One too many blue moons, guys. I'm sorry.
Surely you're 21 years old. We might have to cut. Moving on, football talk. The Buffalo Bills are playing the Packers this week, as I recently prefaced. This is a bad matchup for Green Bay, to be honest with you, man. This offensive line, Bakhtiari, is still like kind of teetering between healthy and unhealthy. And this offensive line, or the defensive line for Buffalo, just has guys to throw at you all game long. It's going to put Rodgers under pressure, and I know he typically performs well under pressure, but there's just so little margin for error in Green Bay for the entirety of this year. And this Buffalo team is going to make you make errors, and you can't. Yeah. If you're the Packers offense, you can't make errors if you want to win games because
no room for errors.
Because the margin for errors is so thin in Green Bay, and especially that margin for errors is much smaller when you're playing a team like the Bills with such a big margin for errors. With a guy like Josh Allen, who's I think he's averaging like 12 yards per play when he gets pressured. Pardon me?
Ridiculous.
When he
how good he's
are
been,
you serious?
Honestly. Like fucking kidding me?
Yeah, like it's really crazy how great they've been. Obviously, this Packers defense has started to turn around a little bit, but you did just give up 23 points to Taylor Heineke and company, so I can't imagine what Josh Allen's going to do to you. We will get to see Jair Alexander guard Stephon Diggs this game, hopefully. I know that they've had a problem with not shadowing receivers over, but I feel like they did do that a little bit last week with Terry McLaurin and Jair Alexander. So hopefully we get to see Jair on Diggs, and we see a good game from Jair. I'm a big Jair fan. I'm also a big Diggs fan, but I've always liked Jair. I felt like he was
I'm a Jair fan myself.
Yeah. So hopefully we get to see something good here. But what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, just if you lose to the Commanders, just imagine what the Bills are gonna do to you. I know the whole stigma between don't judge by one game, you know, it's the NFL, anything can happen. But I mean, if you lose to the fucking Commanders, imagine what the Bills are going to do to you. Like, they are going to rip you a new one. One thing to look out for is, as Jaden said right here, the Jair and Stephon Diggs matchup. Like that I think that'll be awesome. If it's like, I know there's not a whole like one like kind of 1v1 mentality with these corners and receivers anymore. You know, there's no like island mentality anymore. But if it's anything close to that, I think it'll be a fun matchup to watch because they're both so talented at what they do, and they're both like top at their position, honestly. But you know, it's just I like Aaron Rodgers. I really do. I think he's super talented. Like he's ridiculously talented. Probably the most talented ever. But Aaron
Rodgers is good at football.
Aaron Rodgers is good at football. It's just sorry.
I'm so glad we got you on our podcast to contribute that.
I had no way to put it, but yeah. It's just this offense has looked completely lost, honestly. You know, if they can't get the run game going between AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, I mean, what the hell are you going to do? Lazard's still questionable. I mean, it's just it's sad to see, honestly, just how far this offense has fallen without Devontae Adams against this Bills defense, which practically has zero weaknesses. It is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and the one weakness that you could probably point out right now is that cornerback room without Tre'Davious White for right now, and you can't attack that with Allen Lazard. Unless, of course, by the time we get this out, which ideally would be before Sunday, they do make a trade for receiver. I doubt that they do make a move on a Saturday before a game on Sunday. And then even if they do, he's not going to be playing that much on Sunday. So I would say if the Packers do lose to Buffalo, as a Packers fan, you better fucking expect a move to be made because now you're 3-5, your quarterback's making $60 million. It's time to do something. I know you've put it off for the last 3 or 4 years, but now would probably be a great time to do so if it wasn't the week before, and then if not the week before that.
If you're going to trade for anybody, you know, I think trade for Brandon Cooks or Chase Claypool.
You're really on honestly. That, man. The Brandon Cooks to Green Bay movement is feel very strongly about that.
I'm definitely not a Brandon Cooks fantasy owner or anything.
Surely.
But if you're going to trade for anybody, trade for Brandon Cooks.
You're not a Chase Claypool owner either, right? No. You also have DJ Moore, right? Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Next team. Lions or next team. Lions or next team.
Well, I guess we're going to move on to lines here. It sounded like you said Lions. I was very confused while you were talking about the Lions.
Detroit Lions.
The Bills are favored by 10.5 points against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And you know what, dude? Bills on both. I can't believe I'm saying this as a former Rodgers enthusiast. Well, not a former Rodgers enthusiast, but I used to be much more enthusiastic about Rodgers than I am now. As you can see by me picking the Bills to beat them by 11 points.
Almost 11. 11 points. Yeah. With that being said, in your Aaron Rodgers, you know, you used to be a big fan of him. Give me the Bills on both lines still. This Packers offense just looks lost, and if they can't win against the Commanders, the Bills are going to tear them a new one. I'm sorry, Kane, but it's just how
the thing is, in Green Bay right now, Rodgers is saying, like, you know, we can't have guys on the field making mistakes. These are your best guys. You get your backups on the field, they're going to make more mistakes.
You have literally no options.
Yeah,
you have literally no options.
I mean, especially with all the guys that are still hurt. I mean, like Lazard was in a sling. Cobb's on IR. Christian Watson can't catch. Like you're running out of options here. Like the best thing to do, and I know it's really hard to do this in the middle of the season, but it might be just to attack this with volume because you didn't attack it at all, really, in free agency. I mean, you draft Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, so I guess that Doubs?
Yeah.
Dobbs. I know he changed
Romeo
it.
Doubs is a good nickname, though.
It's Dobbs now. It used to be
It is
Doubs.
Dobbs, yeah.
It used to be Doubs. We all thought it was Doubs. And it sounded so
Romeo
much
Doubs
better.
is a good one,
I
though.
finally got to start saying Dobbs. But I guess you did attack it with volume by drafting 2 receivers on day 2 and day 3. But if you can go out and trade for a Chase Claypool, Brandon Cooks, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, X name, and then in a month from now, go out and sign an Odell Beckham. That might be the only way that you salvage this season. Where again, you're paying your quarterback $60 million, and you might not make the playoffs. You're paying your quarterback $60 million, and the Bears could pass you in the division standings this week in Week 8.
Unreal.
I'd puke
Unreal.
if I was a Packers fan. Sorry, Packers fans, for really letting you have it.
Go ahead and puke.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but I'm gonna have to ask you to puke. Last game of the weekend, we are getting. There's no way we're at 2 hours of recording time. If so, I'm very sorry if you've listened to literally any of this. Last game, Monday Night Football, Bengals, Browns. Man, with no Jamar Chase, this game might kind of suck. This might be like a slop fest. Or it could actually, you know what? Let me walk back on that. I think this game might be kind of exciting. You've still got T. Higgins there. Nick Chubb on the other side. There are good players playing in this game. This is my analysis. This is my one big takeaway for Bengals Browns is that there are talented players on either side of the ball. This is Joe Burrow's first game playing in the NFL without Jamar Chase since he tore his ACL. So that'll be interesting to see, how he adjusts moving forward, because this game will be a big indicator of what the Bengals are going to be moving forward without Jamar Chase, because he's always been that, there's probably like a 60% chance that he's open on any given play. And now that's gone for at least the next month and a half. And for Cleveland, the whole idea was let's just get to week 12 and Watson's going to come back and he's going to obviously never lose another game. And they're 2-5, and it looks like you might not make it there, and it might be too late by the time Watson gets here. I mean, you stretch out their record so far, they're probably looking at like 3-8, 4-7 by the time Watson gets back. And with this AFC, the state that it's in, I can't see them making the playoffs at that point. You might just have to chop it up the next year. But the Browns are in a weird spot, obviously. And so are the Bengals. Now the Ravens have taken sole possession of first place in this division. And the Bengals, we had them at 4 in our power rankings moving into this week. And then as I was making the post, Jamar Chase gets, the hip injury that we saw. Yeah. And we were all like, oh my God, he just tore his ACL. And then nothing came of it for the next couple days. And then boom, IR. Really bad development. Really sucky development in Cincinnati. I feel for Cincinnati fans. I'm going to be taking Cincinnati in this game. I don't know why I just said that when I haven't asked you what your thing of this game is.
I mean, obviously, Jamar Chase going down is a huge loss. But as a Clemson alumni and as a Clemson fan, T. Higgins carry the torch is my mentality. He's not going to be a Jamar Chase, definitely not. But I do think he'll be great in these coming weeks while Jamar is sidelined, of course. But this Cleveland Browns team just looks, passing wise they look awful. Running wise, they look great. I mean, obviously, I think this year is a wash. You're 2-5. What are you going to do? Honestly, but Deshaun Watson comes back next year, so just as a Cleveland fan, sorry about that. Just hope for next year, honestly. But I do think that the Bengals actually pull this one out. So give me Bengals on both lines, despite Jamar Chase's injury, just because this defense, like this Cleveland Browns defense, was supposed to be so good coming into the year, and they have not been good at all. Honestly, they have been maybe average at best, and that is pushing it, frankly. But just despite Jamar Chase, give me the Bengals here, honestly, on both lines.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. As I previously stated. Despite the Jamar Chase loss, I still think this is going to be a win for Cincinnati. I do have my concerns about the receivers that are going to be on the field. The bad Michael Thomas, Trent Taylor. You really don't want those guys ever being on the field in any situation. And this is something that I talked about in the preseason was like, yeah, you probably have the best 1, 2, 3, but you've got 4, 5, and 6. You've got 3 guys that are probably the worst in the NFL. And God forbid something ever happened to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd long term, you're probably in trouble. And it happens to the best of those 3 guys in Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I do think this, probably damper some Super Bowl expectations or Super Bowl hopes in Cincinnati. I know that things are looking a little grim with Buffalo and Kansas City at the top of this conference, but if there was any team that you would want to throw into that mix, it would probably be Cincinnati. And now that's kind of opened up a little bit again. Now you're probably talking about Baltimore again. Not even a team like the Chargers right now, just because they're kind of falling on the face. Miami probably getting thrown in that mix as well.
They're lost right now.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Yeah. I either feel like this is going to be a really good game or this is going to be an absolute shitter. Like, I don't think
I completely agree.
Any medium.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to see, Joe Burrow's first, taste of, the NFL without a Jamar Chase, a generational talent, obviously, since he tore his ACL. I still think he'll be good because he's still Joe Burrow. He's still a very good quarterback. He's got everything you need, really, but just without Jamar Chase, it's gonna be difficult to see, honestly. So I think I'm honestly just really interested to see how Joe Burrow addresses this as a player. Honestly, I think that's my main takeaway from this.
Yeah, I mean,
just to see how he evolves.
Yeah, and he's again like he is a very good player. So I do think that he will be fine. I think Joe Burrow is pretty good. I do think that he will overcome this to a certain degree, but I think as a whole, the Bengals, Super Bowl hopes and expectations might have fallen out the window with this injury, especially if it lingers into late in the regular season, maybe even into the playoffs. This is a 4 to 6 week injury. We're currently in week 8, so that's 6 weeks. That's week 14. If he sees any setbacks, that could probably rule him out for the rest of the regular season.
Sure.
And then playoff time, who knows what could happen. That's going to be it for us. We went through all 15 games. Wow. I really rambled my way through this. We're really pushing 2 hours here with 2 people.
Holy shit!
I'm not proud of myself as a podcast. I know
my fault, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, ass. I will have to do some editing, so don't worry about that. But hopefully this came out. Let's see, real predictions here for the people. You get to hear our predictions for the people that made it all the way to the end here. I'm gonna go hour and 40. Is what it comes down to, which is so dumb because we get that with 3 people. I'll put this one on me. I'll take this loss on the chin. This is Jaden's fault. I will eat this because.
Well, editing wise, you think it's going to be about an hour 40?
We could have cut it. We could have cut this by now. This just feels like such an uncut podcast, and I like it.
Yeah, I like just the raw, just.
Maybe I'll just keep everything.
Yeah, the whole fucking 9 yards. Yeah, I've had I don't know how many beers this is. I'm going to be completely honest with listeners out there.
You're 21 years old.
It's like 4. I fucking promise you guys. But, I mean, 2 hours.
Good job.
I'm putting it 2 hours.
But,
I'm putting it 2 hours.
Back to some formalities here. Do want to say thank you to you for coming on, helping me in a pinch. We didn't have anybody that could go tonight except for myself. And as great as I've done monologuing solo in the past, I don't think I could sit up here and do stand up for an hour and a half, or gain any viewership by doing so.
I'd pay to see it, honestly.
Well, maybe we would love to get some monetization here. We would love to get PFF Ultimate and some new equipment. So if anybody's willing to pay for me to do anything, just let me know, and I'll completely open ended. I will do anything for money. All right,
I will do anything.
And on that note, we are going to finalize this episode of the Blitz podcast.
We gotta keep that.
Hopefully this will be out sometime before kickoff on Sunday, and we'll have the Week 8 review coming up Wednesday morning, and then the Power Rankings up on Thursday. Engage 8 coming out every day. Obviously, trade deadline on Tuesday, so we might even do an episode, a third episode, just going over any potential moves that happen, and keep your notifications on, because I'll be putting out all the news and stuff that's going on. And if you made it to the end of this, please make sure to like and subscribe. Please, I beg you, with every ounce of my being, please like and subscribe this YouTube video and this YouTube channel. For Lake Malkus and Jaden Kozak, this is the Blitz Podcast.